So today I am going to be setting up my watercolor palettes. I've got two of these new palettes here and a couple of new sets of paint. And I wanted to share a little bit about the watercolor items I had been using and my plan as far as trying some different brands of watercolor. For the longest time, I've been using this basic student grade set, and it's done well for me. You can see it's well loved. There's some of the pans are starting to get really dug into. It is, however, limited on colors. I think it was a good start for me, but where I get dissatisfied is that I'm not always getting the color choices that I want. And I can mix to a certain extent, but there's a few brighter shades, like the brighter pinks and things like that, that I want to use and I want to add to the palette. Now, for a while, I was supplementing this with these watercolor pencils, and they are water activated pencils. And I was also supplementing with my Neo colors, which overall works pretty well. I really do love the Caran d'Ache water soluble crayons here. And these had some of the brighter pinks and colors that I liked in it. And I could do color mixing right here on the lid. I need to like really clean the lid off. And for the most part, this is working well, but I still wanted to expand out a little bit further. Oh, and I've also been using this set by Jane Davenport. This is specifically for skin tones. And I haven't used it a lot because, as you can see from a lot of my work, I don't use traditional skin tone colors. So, as far as what I have these two palettes here. I did prep them by taking this nail file and just running over it a little bit. It's my understanding this will help keep the paint from beating up as much when I'm trying to do some color mixing. And I bought myself two sets. One is the Paul Rubens set. It's 14 colors. The colors looked really vibrant to me, and I think this is a good supplement for the other colors that I have. And the other set here is by Ohuhu. I bought this mainly because it was on sale. I've liked some of their other products before. I'm not sure about the light fastness of these paints, but they were pretty inexpensive. So to give you an idea, let's see, they cost me maybe about $15. Yeah, about $15 to $20. So I don't know where these compare as far as pigment grade. I thought I would give them a shot and see how they worked. And I'd also heard some good things about the Paul Rubens before. So I thought this was the smallest set I could get. One of the things I have a tendency of doing when I want to try something new is I'll go all out and I'll buy everything. And my son's advice is always, why don't you buy just one tube of one color and see if you like it? Buy a color you know that you'll use, or buy the smallest set possible and then make sure you like whatever it is before you invest in it. So I'm trying to do that and be a little more conscious about what I do and not obsessed with buying every single set of watercolor that I see. So anyway, let's prep. Let's get to going with that. So the first set here I am going to use with the Paul Rubens set. It does come with a booklet that shows all of the colors they have available, which tempts me to get more, especially look at this right here. Can you see this one? The gradient in that pink and then in this purple and brown, those look very tempting. So I may love these. I want to get more. It also comes with this paper, which I'm going to use to swatch. And then this comes out. This is like an additional mixing area. But what I want to do is put this here. And then I'm going to start my colors based on the swatch and just go around in a circle. What I need to do is go grab some water. I've got my brush, but I forgot the water. And I think I'm just going to trim this down a little bit. Or maybe I just cut it in half so I can fit this inside here a little more easily. and that way I'll have the swatch of colors. So I'll be right back. Let me go grab some water. Okay, so I've got water now and I've got my brush. Let's get going. I did trim this down a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to fit it underneath here. Since it starts with the opera yellow, I'm going to start here and go all around in a circle just to make things easy. Of course, these do not want to open up. So I've seen a couple of people do this in a different way. What I'm going to do is just fill the pan down here a little bit towards the end. I have watched a couple people where they spread all the way to the top, but I think I want it to sit like this, and then I can use my brush on it a bit as I work, if that makes sense. Kind of control how much water I'm using as I swatch it. These are definitely very fluorescent in color, very bright. What I'm gonna do. So this is another little trick here. If you put a tiny bit of Vaseline or other petroleum jelly around the base here, around where the lid screws on, this won't dry onto the lid. I need to come back and do that with this one too. Of course, I should have wiped my finger before I did that because I got orange onto it. But there we go. All right. Let's see what the next color is. The next color is a opera orange red. Punch that through. There we go. Oh, wow. I'm already getting flakes of something in here. This is a very bright color of red here. Not at all what it looks like on the tube. You can see on the tube, it has like a brown shade, but it's almost like a fluorescent red, which is pretty cool. Let's wipe this a bit and then all right, so each of these colors is kind of a surprise. See, so that was the orange red. This is opera orange. And to me, yeah, that's very much an interesting shade there. I think if I were to have done this all over again, I might have opened this up and checked the color first because I might have swapped those two in the palette. Because the next color is an opera red. And I think I would have liked the two shades of red closer to each other. Versus having it go like this with the orange, then the orange red, then another orange, and then red. But it's done now. So maybe what I should do here with these three pinks, so we've got the opera rose, opera pink, and opera peach. I need to open these first, and there's also the opera violet. See what these look like before I put them into the palette. Okay, definitely a nice pink color there. What is this one? Is this lighter? Okay, this is more of like a fluorescent pink. And we have here. Okay, so that is definitely more of, this is a peach, it says, but to me that reads more of a red. So I'm going to put that one next. It's like a red, like a hot pink red mix. If that makes sense. We'll go with this one next. This one's definitely more of a traditional pink tone, more like a quinacridone magenta shade. Whereas this one looks directly like a fluorescent. So let's open up the two purples next. Okay, so we have, this is the Opera Violet. That's a very deep purple. A lot deeper than I anticipated. Whoops. And I lost the lid. All right. This is definitely a cooler shade. Both of the very dark purple. This one you can see the pink tone in it. And this one's a lot cooler. You can see more of the blue shade. All right. So then we have Opera Blue and Opera Ultramarine. It's definitely a regular ultramarine style blue, I think. What type of blue is this? This is more like a cerulean, how do you want to say it? Blue. Some of them I'm noticing feel a little more fluid, I guess you would say, more liquid than others. And some of them feel a little bit thicker. The last one, this is Opera Green. Definitely feels like a nice, bright, not quite fluorescent, but nice, bright green. I am noticing on a few of these that it seems like the pigment is a little bit separate. Need to go grab a toothpick and mix. Mostly on the green here and this one, I'm seeing a little bit of the clear pigment. So just one moment, let me grab a toothpick and I'll be right back. Have that ready to go. Hopefully I didn't jostle the mic too much there. Okay, so I'm just gonna stir this up a little bit, try to get rid of any of the air bubbles that I see and mix in some of the pigment. As I pointed out, it was kind of separating a bit. Let me hold this up so you can see with the green. See, you see how the green is a little bit different from the blue? So I'm just gonna mix that in so that it dries nice and consistent and make sure there's no air bubbles there. All right, let's try swatching these out. Brush. So this is the Opera Yellow. Definitely like a very fluorescent yellow there. The colors seem to be very rich, very vibrant. That is the Opera Orange Red. Here's the Opera Orange. This is we have an Opera Light Red and an Opera Red. Let's see. I think I mixed the colors around here, and now I am messing up where I put them on the swatch because I think I swapped them, if you recall. Or are they different? Opera Rose, Opera Red. Huh. No, the names here are different. So if you recall, I've got an Opera Peach and an Opera Red, and here it's saying Opera Red and Opera Light Red. So then we've got I think I just mixed two different colors there. All right. So then the Opera Pink would be this one here. And then this would be the Opera Rose. Oh, I don't need help right now. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want you to step in the palette. Okay. So now let's come back to the Opera Pink. Okay, no, don't get it on your nose. Oops. No, she did not. I'm just going to move her. Okay. Back to this here. So then the Opera Peach. I think I've mixed my swatch up almost completely here. Let's do that. Opera Rose. This was, yeah, that's accurate. And Opera Red. So don't do like I do when you actually do this. Oh, there is an Opera Light Red. Okay. When you actually do this, don't mix your colors up the wrong way like I did. And check this out. I never opened this. That's interesting. Oh, look at that. Was there more than one? All right. I missed a color in the palette. Anyway, you can see the colors are pretty vibrant. So let's take this one and put a tiny bit here. So that's actually the light red is more of an orange. All right, back to doing things hopefully the right way. So now we have the Opera Purple and the Opera Violet. The video cut out partway through for some reason while I was swatching it, so I just finished the swatches here. You can see that the colors are very vibrant. Sorry, I can't speak today. Almost fluorescent in quality. This is going to be a great addition and something that I am definitely looking for with my paints. Now, I did mess up and I got myself a little bit confused by moving some of the colors around. So I messed up a little bit in the swatching, and then I evidently forgot to put a color in. So you see the color here, and I will say this is one of the cons for this type of a palette because I can't move the pans around and it would be hard and waste paint to take the paint out. So if you have the little pans like this kind, you can snap the pans in and out as you want to. So I'm just going to have to live with it being this way and make do. But this is something that I will need to pay attention to better when I make my next palette. And you'll see some people make a map out before they go with the swatches. And so maybe that's what I should do with the next set of paints before I put them in. So let me clean this up and put this aside. I need this to dry before it goes in. And I'm just going to, after it dries, I'm going to take this mixer pan out and I'll put it in here and keep it with this. I may even redo the palette swatches with this the way that it is so that I have a better idea of what I'm working with. Go ahead and shut this for now so the cat does not step in it. Anyway, I will be back shortly after I clean this up and get some fresh water, and I'll put the Ohuhu in the other watercolor palette. Okay, so let's unbox the Ohuhu set. See what this is like. So it comes with 24 colors. An insert. Does it say anything in here about whether or not it's light fast? No, it's just a warning about avoiding getting it with your skin, glasses, or clothing. Don't put it in your eyes. Don't put it near a heat source. All right. I'll have to do some research and see if this is color fast. So let's just break this open. I mean, I guess for the price, it's not a bad way to start. We'll have to see how good the pigments are here. And it looks like it comes with a set of brushes. Right over. So it's always nice to have more brushes to see how good of a quality these are. One's still in there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how I'm going to lay these out. Most of what I've seen that works well is having a cool side and a warm side with your neutrals. It's sort of laid out this way already. I made this card. It's watercolor paper, just a simple grid. There's 3 rows with 11 squares representing each well. And I'll be able to keep the swatch card inside here for my reference. So as I put these in, I'm going to swatch them, and I just need to lay them out and figure out what order I want them all to go in. So I think I'm going to do that with the magic of a little bit of speeding up so you're not watching me go through each step like you did with the Paul Rubens. So just a moment and I'll switch camera modes.
So I've had a quick play with both of the palettes, and I say quick play, but really I spent the entire morning messing around with different watercolor exercises to kind of see how I liked them. I am not coming from this as a watercolor expert. I would say that watercolor is not a medium that I am very strong in. I just use it a little bit as a highlight, and I use it with fabric, which probably sounds weird, and I will show how I use it in fabric in another video. What I wanted to do this year is, rather than constantly approach everything from mixed media, focus on different media and becoming more proficient in them and developing my style with them and finding what I really like. Because over this past year and a half of working with acrylic again and really coming onto the canvas out of my journal, I have discovered there are certain colors and certain paint types or materials that I like. So if you're asking the question, which ones should I get, which paint, the answer to me would be whether it's acrylic or watercolor or gouache or oil, find the brands that are available to you locally. Try to find different ways of testing them, be that buying it by a single tube, maybe buy an introductory set like I did with the Ohuhu, and see which are the colors you're really drawn to using, and then kind of branch out with those same colors in other companies or brands. I've noticed a few of the professional watercolor artists that I follow are not necessarily loyal to any one brand. One of the ladies that I watched her set up her watercolor palette had probably about 5 different companies in her palette. And what she was basing it on is that in this company, she likes this red, but in this company, she prefers the yellow. She thinks the lemon yellow is brighter. And the way each company mixes their pigments is different. So it's going to come down to personal preference as to which watercolor is right for you. As to whether I prefer the hard pan versus the tube, I'm really enjoying the way that the tube lays down. I can see the advantages with both. I think I'm going to end up loving gouache more, and I haven't set up my gouache palette yet. That'll be another day.
but I found myself using the paint in very similar manner to the way that I lay down acrylics, with lighter and heavier strokes. And these are a couple of the things I ended up making. I started off with these watercolor exercises. They're all on a timer. And the goal is you lay down some blotches and you try to turn those blotches into a landscape. And at first you may end up with a muddy mess. It takes a little bit of practice, but these were the two that came out the best as far as that went. It was harder on the smaller paper, I will tell you, because everything moved a little bit more than I wanted it to. But on the larger paper, it was better. Overall, the composition of this is not great. Like, we have three sets of brush in the middle. I don't know why. The balance is off. The weight is weird. So if I had to do this again, I'd probably change the weight, or I need to add something else heavier here, something to balance this a little bit more. But the exercises did give me a good idea about how the paint flowed. I'm actually using this palette and the Paul Rubens palette mixed in. I am loving the Paul Rubens palette because you can see that the fluorescent pink here. The way that I work, even with acrylic, is that I like to use these pops of fluorescent color as highlights, and I like how they mix in. I'm not painting photorealistically. So these provided those bright pops for me that I love, those sort of surreal, alien, weird pops of color. So when I look at this painting, I can say I really actually love this right here. I love the way the tree came out, the fine, gentle lines with the magenta. I love the pops of color and how the green mixed in here. This part right here is really great. I love the way the bushes came out here, and I love the way this set of bushes came out here. What could I do with this painting? It's kind of just on a side note. I'll probably cut this down and collage it into other pieces. It's not a wasted piece. Both of these were fun, and I did end up bringing in some of the watercolored pencils here, and they actually were quite useful. These are those Cretacolor pencils. I wasn't sure how I was going to use them or how I was going to love them. So I brought them in and I did some pops here of the lighter yellow. You can see right in here, shaded in a little bit here. I kind of corrected, the water had become a muddy mess, and I used the pencils to blend in with the watercolor and fix that a little bit. So it was, again, just a fun play with the tools that I have, to where when I work on a more serious piece, I can use the tools more effectively. I can definitely say these pieces are very naive in style, very primitive. But again, it was a great learning experience, and I had fun, and it was relaxing. I did a couple of others. Actually, one is on the back here, where I did some quick little abstract towns. This one came out okay. This was the first one, and the buildings are a little bit wonky, but this was the best one, and probably the best piece of the day. So I'm really happy with this one. It is a bit of a challenge working on the 4x6 size. It's like a postcard size, but I do like working on the block. So if you're finding yourself challenged, I say that paper is key. Maybe try a watercolor block if you don't feel like taping everything down, but definitely get a high quality watercolor paper, and you're going to love your results a lot more. So my next step is breaking out my gouache. I'm waiting on another one of these palettes to arrive so I can make a gouache palette, and I can test out gouache straight from the tube. This year is really going to be about me focusing on more of my technique and expanding what I do. I will be doing some brief focuses on things like this, like the watercolor, where I work on trying to improve my skills with those. And then I will also be working on continuing to mix those in with all the other media, because that's how I started with a lot of things. I started off with mixing everything together and working everything in layers. So I will do another video about that shortly. So stay tuned, and I hope you create something today. Look around on the internet and try to find some of these quick watercolor warm-up exercises to just test out yourself and your supplies, and really think about how you're using things and concentrate on the colors that you're using, because those are the colors you're going to want to focus on buying a more professional grade paint based on what's available in the area for you. Thank you again for watching.